Hey, Facebook friends. I'm meteorologist Angela Buchman. We hope you are staying safe and healthy and your families are all well. We've got a treat for this week's 13 Weather Academy. We've got a special interview from the folks at the Children's Museum. I know since most of us have been staying at home, we're missing all of our favorite things like the zoo, like our parks, like the Children's Museum. And they've got a really fun new exhibit that has to do with what I love, and that's the weather. And we're going to show you that interview. We're going to show you behind the scenes. We're going to save time for some questions. So get those thinking caps on and let us know what questions you have, and we'll be answering those in a few minutes. But without further ado, we've got a special interview from Miss Monica at the Children's Museum. Hi, everybody. We have the pleasure of Monica Humphrey from our favorite Children's Museum joining us today for our Weather Academy here on Facebook Live. Monica, we can't all go to the places that we love, and we love the award-winning Children's Museum, and you have a really cool weather exhibit that we're all excited to see. And since we can't, we thought we'd invite you to give us a little heads up on what we're going to enjoy.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited for everybody to come and see the exhibit too. Wild Weather is going to be at the museum the rest of the year through January. So one of the things that made us really excited about having it for such a long time was because there's so much weather that's talked about in there. It's not just tornadoes or thunderstorms. It's snow, it's extreme heat, it's hurricanes. It just covers the gamut of what happens during a whole calendar year around the world. And so there's a lot of new stuff to discover every time you come in.
Well, it's funny, when I give weather talks, I always try to stump the kids. Okay, so what kind of weather don't we get here in Indiana? And they're all pretty good about guessing hurricanes, but it is kind of fascinating. We sometimes get what's left over from hurricanes. So really, it's important for us to know about all kinds of weather.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I think that's what's really great about this exhibit is that, there is space dedicated, an equal amount of space dedicated to all of those. So you can go in and just take in a lot of content, be able to see some amazing footage from, a plane that flies right into the center of a hurricane and what that's like. And you get to hear the crew talking to one another and be able to see different, bits that different storms that they've flown into. So you can see the hurricanes and experience a lot that, like you said, we don't get to do. But then all of the stuff that we're more familiar with, and we can learn about how to be safe in it and how it's created, and there's a lot of ways to kind of dive into that.
Yes, and speaking of those planes that fly into hurricanes, called hurricane hunters, I don't think I would do it, but it takes such important, it's an important mission that takes lots of measurements in the atmosphere, and that's really how we learn about weather, and the museum is all about learning about things. And being a meteorologist and working in Indianapolis and Indiana, safety is our top priority too. So we appreciate you pointing that out, that really knowing and knowledge improves our ability to stay safe in things like bad weather.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, of course, weather can be very scary. And so, we think about that when we're, broaching topics like this. Visitors told us that they were really interested in weather, and we're happy to bring this to them. But we know it can be kind of scary. So what we love about this exhibit and, our programming that we bring to it is that it's all about bringing families together and giving families tools to talk about it and to plan together. And so, again, planning for winter weather, planning for those, spring storms that we have, and knowing what to expect when the hurricanes may trickle up this way, and all of that. So we're really excited to allow families to have those conversations and hopefully do some really great planning when they go home.
Do you have a favorite part of the exhibit?
Oh, there is this interactive that shows the creation or the kind of generation of a lightning bolt. And you can spin a wheel and it will, in very slow motion, but still goes so fast, you can see how the lightning bolt starts from the sky or from the ground and kind of what that track is. And it is really fascinating. It's on a very big screen, so you kind of imagine the scale of it. And, those go by in it's such a blip in real life for us. To be able to slow that down is really fascinating. I love that. along with a lot of other things, but that's one that really stood out when I first saw it.
Yes, and I love that you brought up lightning, because people don't realize that it can come from the cloud and go to the ground. It can go ground to cloud. It can go cloud to cloud. And I always tell the kids when I do a weather presentation that one bolt of lightning is hotter than the sun. And so that's why it's important when we hear thunder that the kids go inside and stay safe. Anything else you'd like to share about the Children's Museum before we let you go? We miss it.
Oh, we miss all of you too. But you know what we really are excited about right now is getting ready for people to come back and the museum at home online. If you go to our Facebook page and our website, you can experience the museum at home. And so I really encourage people to kind of get their fix of the Children's Museum on that. There's new content all the time, in addition to being able to visit your favorite exhibits through past Facebook videos and things that we've posted online. So we're really excited about that and hope that people are able to enjoy that right now.
And I am so glad that you brought that up. That is a way to learn and enjoy while we're staying safe right now. And obviously that's what we want everyone to do. Children's Museum is going to be one of my first stops for sure. Monica Humphrey, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to give the kids and the families that are watching on our Facebook Live right now a little behind the scenes tour of wild weather. So thank you, Monica, so much for joining us, and stay safe. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
It says give 1/4 tablet every time.
Okay, so don't go anywhere, because what we've got now are those behind the scenes videos of that new wild weather exhibit from the Children's Museum.
What'd you call that?
No air. Hi everyone, welcome to Wild Weather. My name is Stephanie and I am one of the exhibit developers here at the Children's Museum. And today we're going to take a look inside of the Wild Weather exhibit. We have 5 different severe weather areas for you to explore. So we're going to start right here. This is our tornado area. We have a really cool 3D tornado here that greets you when you walk into Wild Weather. And for some added fun, you can actually take a picture of yourself to send up into the tornado, along with some other fun objects as well. And before we head farther into the exhibit, we just want, for all of you Wizard of Oz fans out there, to point out some really great Wizard of Oz memorabilia and movie props that we have on display over here in our tornado section as well. So the tornado section is where you can learn all about, of course, tornadoes. We start with some information about how tornadoes form and how researchers are studying tornadoes both in the field as tornado chasers and in the lab. Now, we can walk over this way to one of our augmented reality experiences here in Wild Weather. And these tablets, you can actually manipulate and look at a town and see what would happen if a tornado of different scales were to come and the damage it might create. So you can see what an EF1 tornado is capable of, all the way up to an EF5 tornado, and kind of look around the town on this screen to see what the effects might be. Now this is something that I am so excited about, and you have to try it out. It is our tornado simulator. So you get to step inside and feel winds up to 75 miles per hour. And so I think that we have to go ahead and try it out. I'm just going to come over here. We've got this little button on the side that we'll push to get the experience started. And I'll step inside. All right, I think we're getting ready to start. With the wind. But that tornado speed winds will go all the way up to 75 miles per hour for you to experience. This is another really fun interactive that we have over here where you can make your own mini tornado. So by pushing this button, we're going to set off some mist, and you can manipulate the walls of this chamber to see what it takes to create a mini vortex, experimenting with how tornadoes form. We have a couple of these stations throughout the exhibit in our different areas, but basically at our solving storm stations, you can really become a meteorologist and figure out what it takes to predict and monitor severe weather as they form. So of course here you are predicting where a tornado might form and issuing warnings for people that live in the path of a potential tornado. All right, now we are moving into our second severe weather area, which is winter storms and blizzards. We have some great snowmen from our collection on display, so you'll have to come and find your favorite one to share with your family. And this is our winter cabin where we are experiencing a blizzard and what it would be like to be snowed in a remote cabin. So you might take a look at the screen over here and learn about how winter storms form. You can even control the snow falling out the window, the rate of snowfall, how big the snowflakes are, and see what that might look like. And have some other fun with other activities in our winter cabin area. All right, so now we're moving out of our winter blizzard and moving into our severe heat zone, where you can learn all about the effects of heat waves and droughts. And probably one of my favorite things in this area is our Body Heat Alert Interactive, where you can learn about how you can keep yourself safe in the event that it is very hot outside when we're experiencing a heat wave, and what the effects of things like drinking water or physical activity have on your body as the temperature goes up. As we continue around, we are now entering our hurricane severe weather area. And so these powerful storms are actually being researched now by research flights that fly into the eyes of hurricanes to collect data. And so you can actually join the helicopter crew and see what it would be like to fly into the eye of the storm with the rest of the research flight taking off into the hurricane.
Over the Atlantic Ocean, the crew makes their way to the hurricane.
After you fly into the hurricane with the crew, we are stepping out over into our severe thunderstorm area of the exhibit. And if we come around this way, we have a really fun interactive where you can see how lightning forms. So by spinning this dial, we can see lightning form really fast, or we can slow it down and see how lightning forms in slow motion. Back here we have different sizes of hail. So if you've ever experienced hail outside or near your home, you can see the damage and the different effects that different sizes of hail might have on your area, and how researchers are collecting information about hail in different parts of the world. Of course, everybody always looks up and sees clouds in the sky, so this interactive here shows us what different types of clouds might mean in terms of weather. So you can spin a cloud and see what type of weather you might expect if you were to see that cloud in the sky. And if we walk around this way, this station here, Downpour Dilemmas, will teach you about how you can stay safe in the event that there is a severe thunderstorm or flood. So you can play a game to find out what you should do if you are ever in this type of severe weather in your home. All right, so this is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, part of this entire exhibit. This is called Dance Up a Storm, and in this room here you can enter and start dancing with your family, and the harder you dance, the more storm elements you will create. So you might experience things like snow falling, thunder, lightning strikes, hearing thunder, feeling heat like you're in a heat wave. And again, the harder and faster you dance, the bigger the storm gets and the more effects you get to see. So this is super fun, and you'll have to come and give it a try. And finally, as we make our way around this side of the exhibit, this is kind of where we wrap it all up and talk about all the different kinds of weather that you might see all around the world. And you can even take a quiz to put some of the weather knowledge that you've learned in this exhibit to the test against other members of your family to see what you now know about how severe weather forms and how you can keep yourself safe in severe weather events. And of course, if you want to end your time in wild weather with a great photo op here, you can pretend like you are getting blown away in some hurricane strength winds. So, grab onto the umbrella, hold on, and get blown away. Woo!
Boy, that looks like such a fun time. We're so excited to eventually get back into the Children's Museum, and we thank the Children's Museum so very much for giving us some exclusive access of the behind the scenes. As I was watching that myself, I had trouble coming up with my favorite exhibit, whether it was the one where you get in and experience the wind. And she said the wind tunnel goes up to about 70, 75 miles per hour, which, by the way, is on the weak end of our EF scale, the enhanced Fujita scale, how we measure how strong the winds are or how much damage they've done with a tornado. So that's kind of incredible. You could see her hair kind of blowing all around. And then Dance Up a Storm looked like a really fun time as well. And the lightning display and all of the hail exhibits. So great job by the Children's Museum. And I know we're all very excited to get back into it and have that hands-on experience. And we obviously hope that's very, very soon. If you've got some kids watching and you have some weather questions, even if you're not a kid at heart, and you've got some weather questions for me, we're going to stick around for another 5-10 minutes or so and take your questions. We also want to thank our sponsors that help us over at Citizens Energy, and of course, the Fever as well. And we've got some questions from them that we'll get to. Also, as we move into summer, conservation is very important as well. And we want to make sure that you're aware of that. So we've got some information on conservation. We've got some information on how you can get involved as well, and how we bring the weather. So sorry back there at Channel 13, I think I skipped a slide on you. Water conservation is important as we move into summertime. And it's always a good idea to remember, if you're brushing your teeth, maybe turn the water off. If we're getting lots of rain, maybe don't run your sprinklers. Just some important things from one of our sponsors that we appreciate very much, and that's Citizens Energy. Obviously, several ways that we bring you the weather, whether it be on television, here on Facebook Live, sometimes when there's severe weather or snow coming, we answer your questions. How much snow in my backyard? The phone, obviously, if you've got our app, that's great. And if you don't, the Live Doppler 13 weather app is awesome. All you have to do is download it. When you download it to your phone, you can sign up for alerts. And I know I sign up for alerts to my home, and then I also sign up for alerts at my current position. So when I'm allowed to go back to Channel 13 and work from there, I'll get alerts where I am, but I can also alert my family at home. I can also put in Purdue, where Luke goes to school. And we obviously take severe weather very seriously. So we have several ways to make sure that we can get you the weather. I'm going to check the questions. Ooh, I'm going to have to look that up, but I will look it up when we go to the fever questions. Becky wants to know the latest it's ever snowed in the spring. I actually remember back in the 90s, I'm going to give you a hint on how old I am. I was a 500 princess, and I believe there were snowflakes on opening day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But I don't know if that's the official last time that it snowed, but I'll look that up as soon as I get a break. And that's a very, very good question. Let's see here. Hi, Ted. Ted is 5, wants to know if lightning can come through a window. I don't believe it can come through a window, Ted, but what it can come through are things like plumbing, things like electrical outlets. So if your house gets struck by lightning, it has to have an exit point. So oftentimes it'll come through an electrical outlet, which is sometimes why TVs get destroyed if there's a big electrical storm. And it's also the reason we tell you not to take a shower or a bath or be doing anything really with water when there's a lightning storm, because water is a conductor of electricity. So if lightning would strike your house, it has to find an exit point, and oftentimes that's through plumbing or electrical outlets. But technically, I don't believe it can come through a window. Aubrey asked one of my favorite questions. How is hail formed? Hail is formed with big thunderstorm clouds. So we've got little water droplets that make up clouds. And when we get a thunderstorm cloud that grows really high in the sky, those little water droplets are blown to the top of the cloud. where they actually freeze because it's colder and become little ice pellets. And then they fall back down to the bottom of the cloud where they melt and get bigger. And they can go up and down several times in the cloud before they get heavy enough to kind of outweigh that big wind that's sending them up into the cloud. So they fall down to the bottom. And they can be in several shapes and sizes, from the size of peas to marbles to the size of a quarter. I think our biggest hailstone officially reported in the state of Indiana was the size of a softball. But I think the biggest hail ever recorded in our country was the size of a soccer ball. But it all starts as little water droplets in the clouds. So thank you very much for the question, Aubrey. Ooh, that's a good, you know what? I don't know if I know the answer. Kids want to know why a tornado makes the sound of a train or an airplane. My guess is just because the winds are so strong and so concentrated in that area, but you do hear that they do sound like a train or an airplane kind of taking off or landing, but I don't know the official answer to that, but my guess is because the winds are so strong. Okay, I think I have answered everything. So maybe we go on to the fever questions, and then I will look for the answer to the snow question. So let's get to our lovely ladies from the fever.
The fever are always driving in the lane, but do you know where Tornado Alley is?
I like that question, and I do know where Tornado Alley is. Tornado Alley, if you look at a map, extends from parts of Texas all the way north through parts of the Dakotas. So basically your central plains states or the central part of the country. And then it extends east to include parts of the Gulf Coast states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia. And technically the Midwest, including Indiana, is part of Tornado Alley. The good news, most of our tornadoes are on the low end of our EF scale. EF1, EF0, maybe an EF2. So we're kind of on the edge of Tornado Alley, but technically Indiana is in Tornado Alley. Okay, next question.
When the fever play, it's always hot. But do you know why you see your breath when it's cold outside?
I like this question because basically your breath on a cold day makes a cloud. If you think of breathing out and your breath is warmer than the cold air surrounding it, those little water droplets basically condense and form a little cloud, little water and ice droplets. And that's the way you're able to see it because your breath is warmer than the air outside. That's why you don't see it on a warm day. All right, next question.
The fever are predicting a big winning season.
But can animals predict the weather?
Ooh, I like that question too. I think animals are smarter than we give them credit for. Do I think they can completely predict the weather? Probably not. But it is something I think that they may start to act strangely or kind of give you hints that something is coming. So I don't think that's completely false, but I don't know that they, obviously, since they can't tell us a tornado is coming, they may act strangely. So I liked that question. All right, I'm going to look one more thing. Okay, latest measurable snow in Indianapolis was on May 9th, 1923. And May 9th, by the way, holds a very special place in my heart because that's Luke's birthday. He's got finals this week from home from Purdue. But latest snowfall on May 9th in 1923. And thank you so much for that question. Okay, girls want to know how a hurricane is formed. Okay, hurricanes, I always try to stump kids at school talks because we get just about every kind of weather in Indiana, but we technically don't get hurricanes. We don't get them because we don't live by the ocean, but sometimes we can get the leftovers. So obviously a hurricane forms over the ocean. And you have to have really the perfect atmospheric conditions from bottom to top, top to bottom in the atmosphere to get a little storm system to grow into a hurricane. The fuel for a hurricane is warm water. So warm, open ocean waters. They've got to have space to build. They've got to have that fuel, which is the warm water of the ocean. And that's really the big key to having a hurricane form. And the exhibit had one little area where they were talking about the hurricane hunters. And those planes actually do fly into the center of the hurricanes and take all sorts of measurements. And those measurements actually help meteorologists and folks that study hurricanes figure out what's causing that hurricane to strengthen, what's causing it to weaken, because you can have a little cool air up in the atmosphere. You can have a wind at a different direction up in the atmosphere that may completely tear that hurricane apart. But you also might have the right conditions for that hurricane to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But the biggest thing for a hurricane is the warm ocean waters. Oh, I like that one. Why do clouds turn gray when there are storms? Really has to do with the amount of water droplets within the clouds. And sometimes those clouds can appear even more gray if there's some sun. So that whole reflection, refraction thing going on in the atmosphere. So, but oftentimes it has to do with the amount of water droplets that make up that cloud and if we've got any sun around. So that's a good question. Thank you, Braden, and hi. Let's see. I'll give it another minute or so. I think I covered everything that we were supposed to do. And again, if you are just coming on, you'll want to make sure that you go back and start this from the beginning, because we had Monica from the Children's Museum talking about their new exhibit called Wild Weather. And there are so many hands-on things to see. And since we can't be there hands-on right now, they were kind enough from the Children's Museum to share their virtual tour. So they actually have somebody walking you through each exhibit. And there are so many great exhibits. I like this one. Why does it always go from cold to warm, warm to cold? That's Indiana. The atmosphere itself is like a balancing act. It's always trying to balance itself out. And we really feel that in our transition seasons, spring and fall, when the weather seems like it can't make up its mind. We were 70s over the weekend, and today I think we're going to spend most of the day in the 40s. But for me, that makes my job interesting, because it's always a challenge to figure out what the weather is going to do next, especially in Indiana. Oh, I like this one too. What causes rolling thunder? It really has to do with, and I've looked this up before and I'm not an expert, but it has to do with, I believe, the atmospheric conditions and especially the heat. Oftentimes we get that rolling sound of the thunder based on temperature and how long that thunder can carry. And I believe that it is based on temperature. So that's a very good question. Thank you very much. I will give it another 30 seconds and then we'll let you go. But as I mentioned, if you didn't watch this from the beginning, we've got some great behind the scenes video from the folks at the Children's Museum. Big thank you to them, a big thank you to Citizens Energy, and of course, our ladies at the Fever. Oh, okay. She's got a brother in Tennessee. Tennessee has been really hard hit with severe weather. They had tornadoes in Nashville a month or two ago that hit near the downtown area, which we talked about in our last presentation. And it has to do with basically how weather patterns set up. And you'll find this really from year to year, season to season. It just seems that once a weather pattern sets up, it sticks around for a while and the same places get hit over and over and over again until that weather pattern changes. And it really has to do with the placement of the jet stream, the river of air in the upper atmosphere that steers storm systems. And then on top of that, global weather patterns that have a big impact on how and where that jet stream sets up. So there's a lot that goes into where the kind of storm flow is setting up. And honestly, once it sets up, it seems to stick around for a little while. Let's see here. Do I think we will have a high percentage of tornadoes this year? I hope not. They might be my least favorite weather, aside from freezing rain. I like the science of tornadoes. I like to understand how and why they form and why most of our thunderstorms don't produce them, but some of them do. But for me, you just hate to see the destruction that can sometimes come with them. Okay. Oh, how hot is lightning? I did look this up when I was giving school presentations. 1 bolt of lightning is hotter than the sun, which is the reason we tell kids to make sure that if they hear thunder, they're close enough to be struck by lightning, even if they don't see it. and it's time to take your bikes inside, come in off the trampoline, and wait until the storm passes. We appreciate you very much for watching. We'll see you later tonight at 5. And again, if you didn't see this from the beginning, it's a great presentation from our friends at the Children's Museum. Stay safe and have a great day.